Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise today to talk about priorities, or perhaps warped priorities, skewed priorities, priorities that don't align with the priorities of the South Australian people, because that's certainly what we see from those opposite Mr. Speaker. This week, I think, revealed a huge amount about the priorities of the government, and it also allowed us to reflect on what the priorities are of the people of South Australia. Let's think back in time, just 18-19 months ago, and the big priority for the Labour Party was health care. It was all about health, health, health. And that central election commitment, we will fix the ramping crisis. Yeah. We will fix ramping. Well, what has happened? Fast forward to present day, and what's the situation? Has ramping been fixed?
No.
Is there any evidence of that? Is the trajectory in the right direction? No. Not at all. They have single-handedly taken our hospital system and our ambulance service to the worst condition that it has been in our state's history.
Shame.
The stats speak for themselves. The October ramping statistics showed that ambulances lost 3,322 hours to the ramp, which is more than double what that same recording was in the last month of the former Liberal government, which was 1,522 hours. Now, 1,522 hours is not great. We wanted to do better. But is 3,322 hours any better at all? No, it absolutely isn't, Mr. Speaker. It is so much worse. And that means that our most vulnerable South Australians, when they pick up the phone, or a family member does likewise, to call an ambulance to transport them to hospital, they worry about the ambulance not arriving, and then they worry about being stuck in the ramp for hours, and then they worry about being stuck in the emergency department for hours, with maybe a faint hope that eventually they will get into a hospital and receive that care that they need. We saw this week people waiting in emergency departments at the Lyle McEwen Hospital for up to 10 hours, when they're at their most vulnerable, when they need our public services more than at any other time in their life, perhaps. This situation is what confronts them. Earlier this week, we had SASMOA, the representative body for our salaried medical officers, call 2 inspections at the Lyle McEwen Hospital. And they did so because doctors had contacted them and said, this place is not safe to undertake our jobs in. This place is not safe to administer patient care. Does that sound like a health system fixed?
No.
Does that sound like a government which has responded to its primary election commitment, as outlined for weeks and weeks in the lead-up to the 2022 election, as shown on corflute posters up and down highways and streets around this city and our state? Mr. Speaker, the rhetoric coming out of this government now is very different. The priorities are completely skewed. They are completely different. In fact, we find it very difficult to even see the Premier turning up to participate in a press conference about anything to do with health. We managed to drag him out to one this week after we raised it in this place that he hadn't been seen talking about health for weeks and weeks, and we got him down to an ambulance station at Woodville, and he did one. But what does the Premier care about? What is the Premier on about at the moment? Footy, sport, live golf, Valo 500, the gather round, and so on and so forth. The distractions. Look over there, South Australians. Don't look at our hospitals. Don't look at our emergency departments. Don't rely on life-saving care when you need it. Look at the football, look at the Valo 500, look at the Live Golf. Now, events by themselves, there's no great issue with events by themselves, and we support many of these events. But let me tell you, it's all about priorities, Mr. Speaker, and we need health over sport, not the other way around. Mr. Speaker, in the early Roman days, there was a phrase, bread and circuses, and this is what I think this this government is all about. But I don't even think it's about the bread, because in a cost of living crisis, which they're not responding to, bread is not being provided to South Australians, but circuses. Look over there, distracting us. It's all circus, Mr. Speaker, and South Australians are suffering as a response. All circus and no bread.